It began with a laugh, but did not stop there.
Yeah, Kevin's a great player. I think that his legacy is complicated. I don't like any guys who join super teams. I'm biased against LeBron when it comes to comparing him to Michael, joining Dwayne and those guys. Because, when we have this debate, and LeBron's amazing and spectacular, but I was like, Michael didn't join anybody. He just kept getting his ass kicked and got bigger and got stronger and finally knocked the wall down.
On the Mind the Game podcast, Kevin Durant made what appeared to be a throwaway joke, something about players leaving the league to play baseball. LeBron James laughed as well. The target is Michael Jordan. What's the implication? That Michael Jordan's memorable exit from basketball at his peak was nothing more than a joke. But something changed at that very moment. Because when legends turn into memes and history becomes a joke, someone always steps in to correct the record. And this time, it wasn't just anyone. It was Charles Barkley, never shy, never filtered, and never one to hold back when the game's spirit was at stake. Barkley didn't just answer. He checked them, publicly, fiercely. Most importantly, be honest. This wasn't simply about two modern-day celebrities laughing on a podcast. It was about a deeper trend, one in which today's greats seek to enhance their own reputation by belittling the giants who came before them. But Barkley wouldn't have it. And when he went forward, it was not to protect Jordan's honor. It was to protect the very foundation of NBA excellence. Because what LeBron and KD said was more than simply rude. It reflected a worldview that might influence how future generations perceive the game.
Do I still want to do this shit? You know what I'm saying?
You know how hard it is.
Some people say, I want to go play baseball.
And you think it's funny?
Right?
Yeah. And then I want to come back. Or some people say, I'm going to go 22 straight. And, you know what I'm saying? So it's a contract I feel like you got to have with yourself too, in order for you to be a, great ball player, or to have a long career. That's the goal, to be in the league for 20 years. I tell you, that's the goal.
And Charles Barkley made certain that attitude was called out, loud and clear. The moment struck the internet like a lightning bolt. In a casual episode of their podcast Mind the Game, LeBron James and Kevin Durant went into risky terrain, not with facts or fiery takes, but with a joke. Durant derided the idea of quitting the NBA to play baseball, blatantly referencing Michael Jordan's now famous absence. LeBron, seated across from him, broke into laughter. There's no mention of Jordan's father being slain. There is no recognition of the trauma. Just a joke, an echo of contempt, and a sneer that conveyed decades of generational conflict. Fans who grew up in the 1990s thought it was not just tone deaf, but also ridiculous. Jordan did not depart just because he was bored. He left to mourn, recover, and yes, respect his late father's desire. That wasn't the punchline. That was painful. However, this podcast moment was not a unique instance. It's part of a rising tendency in which present stars downplay prior brilliance in order to elevate their own. LeBron, in particular, has been throwing hints about this approach for years, from disparaging phrases like, "we done with the 90s," to constant comments about how primitive defenses were back then. The message has been clear. The past is overrated. This encounter with Durant simply solidified it. It wasn't simply a joke. It was a proclamation, a message to fans, the media, and future players that the glory of Jordan's era may be dismissed. But what KD and LeBron didn't anticipate was what happened afterward. Because Charles Barkley had listened. Charles Barkley doesn't use filters, and when he heard what happened on Mind the Game, he did not hold back. He went directly to the source of the problem, and at LeBron and KD. In a nationwide interview, Barkley presented his case. It was not only about the podcast, it was about a cultural transformation, an attitude in which players with rings and platforms feel entitled to ridicule the effort required to develop the league they dominate. Barkley made one thing quite clear. That period deserved honor. Jordan didn't join anybody, Barkley added. He kept getting his ass kicked, and he got stronger, and he broke through. No shortcuts, no alliances, only hardship, progress, and victory. Then he focused his attention on KD. "You want to be in that GOAT conversation?" Barkley challenged. "You aren't. You joined super teams. You burned out outside of Golden State. Plain and simple. It was not personal. It was historical." Barkley was not simply comparing careers. He was defending a concept. That brilliance is not limited to rings or numbers. That's how you get there. Barkley named it what it was: legacy inflation. building reputations on the backs of super teams, just to turn around and ridicule the guys who paved the way. Barkley performed something that no one other had dared to do. He brought the subject back to reality. No spin, no stat tampering, just the raw, unvarnished truth. KD and LeBron might have laughed, but Barkley made sure the rest of the basketball world stopped laughing and began remembering. On paper, LeBron James and Kevin Durant have nothing more to prove. Multiple championships, MVPs, global renown. So why the need to make subtle barbs at past legends? The solution is straightforward: legacy pressure. LeBron has been chasing the ghost of Michael Jordan since he first entered the NBA. Every highlight, finals trip, and record is assessed in comparison to Michael Jordan. Despite all of the plaudits, Jordan's 6 rings continue to linger over LeBron like a shadow he can't escape. The more heated the discussion becomes, the more frustration spills out. Mocking Jordan's baseball hiatus, that was not humorous. That was insecurity with the microphone. Durant's career has always faced a distinct challenge: validation. Despite his incredible skill set, KD's best moments were as a passenger on the Warriors' juggernaut. He joined a team rather than creating one. And no matter how many points he earns, the asterisk never completely vanishes. Deep down, he realizes that his fans, and even some of his peers, still regard him lower than the names he wants to be associated with. So what happens when you can't reach the summit through legacy? You attempt to shrink the mountain. You mimic the route others traveled to get there. However, there is an issue with that strategy. The mountain does not move. It remembers. And so do the supporters. Charles Barkley did not just point out a time. He warned about the future, a future in which the disrespectful culture that LeBron and KD helped mainstream will finally turn against them. In this age of perpetual material, tales are scrutinized rather than honored. Fans who have never seen Jordan play casually discuss whether he could survive today's game. Memes, heated opinions, and easy analogies have supplanted genuine context. In such a universe, today's greats are considered trivial by tomorrow. LeBron and KD are now leveraging their platforms to seize control of the narrative. They name themselves the GOATs. They downplayed the 1990s. They tell their stories. But here's the twist. One day, they'll be the ones who leave the court, retired, removed. And no amount of social media management will prevent the next generation from doing what they did to Michael Jackson. Barkley sees it coming. He has been through the grind, and he understands that excellence only lasts if it is acknowledged. You cannot alter the rules today and expect them to be followed tomorrow. Already fissures are appearing. Young fans do not recall Heat versus Spurs or Warriors versus Cavs. They remember snippets, tweets, jokes. That is what legacy becomes when you sacrifice respect for relevance. So when Barkley stepped up, he wasn't simply backing Jordan. He was sending a message to LeBron and KD. If you breach the heritage code, don't be shocked when no one protects yours. LeBron and KD did not simply chuckle at a joke. They represented a broader shift in how today's stars regard the game's past. However, they may have forgotten, or decided to ignore, that the NBA did not begin with them. The foundation they stand on was laid by athletes who did not have super teams, media empires, or podcasts to curate their story. They possessed grit, rivalries, and a desire that could not be bought or contrived. Michael Jordan was not flawless, but his journey through pain, doubt, and eventual triumph is unparalleled. You can't ridicule that and then beg to sit at the same table. Charles Barkley's check was not bitter. It was a warning. Every current superstar should hear this. You do not get to remake the game that made you, because when the spotlight dims and the microphones are silent, all that remains is respect. Jordan remained on the floor throughout the contest.